So I've often said the only thing better than playing games is complaining about games. We see this at the gaming club. You had a great game of 40K, X-Wing miniatures, Battletech, and then after the game, we're putting away our miniatures, we're putting away our toys, and we're discussing how broken your codex is, how that combo is just absolutely crazy, on how the reason why I lost the game was not because of my poor tactics, but rather the dice working against me. And it seems to come hand in hand with the hobbies that we enjoy, where we love certain aspects, but there are other aspects that drive us absolutely crazy. And you can't escape those aspects. So let's turn our attention to Games Workshop for a moment. I got an interesting email last night. We have it up here on the splash screen for holiday, right? Holiday releases and current releases. And this is a dangerous time of year because my impulse control is absolutely, completely gone. So I'm scrolling through and I see Blackstone Fortress. Click here, order now, ready to go. Now, I love Blackstone Fortress. We've pushed that up to my channel here and jumped into it on my blog a little bit. And while I do have all of the expansions for it, I do still follow it, and I'm interested just to see the flow on what's out there, because there's a lot of people still really wanting to very much jump into this amazing game. So I click through buy now, and you go to the Blackstone Fortress page on the GW site. Everything's out of stock. Everything's just gone. So why would you put this in a mass email sent to, I don't know, 50,000, 500,000? I won't say a million, but I'm sure their email base is pretty massive with that. And this kind of triggered me a little bit and kind of pushed things forward, where it's interesting to see where Games Workshop is right now. And I think the swing has happened completely on the other side. And I feel more and more like I'm constantly getting burned by GW. Well, Fritz, what do you mean by that? Okay, let's rewind back a number of years. Let's say like 6 or 7, maybe 8 years ago, whatever edition of 40K that was. Yes, Games Workshop has always favored Space Marines. I mean, they have to. That's the DNA. That's the secret sauce of 40K. I've always said, I'm willing to say that right now, as you're listening to this, if you're a 40K player, I bet you have Space Marines. I bet you're a Space Marine player. And if you're not, for some reason, you're like, Fritz, I always play Tyranids, I bet you in the next 6 to 12 months, you will be playing Space Marines, because you're like, well, I need a second army to fight my Tyranids. What if my friend who never played 40K comes over and they're like, wow, I wish I had an army to play. And if I have a Space Marine army ready to go, I'm ready to go. You know, these are like the things we say to ourselves to justify these impulse purchases. But at the time, a number of years ago, Games Workshop would be constantly updating Marines. But if you played a Xenos army or Chaos Space Marines, you had an old codex. You had old support, old army list. I mean, there was literally, no joke, at a time when Dark Eldar players had a 15-year-old book with rules pointing to phases of the game that no longer existed. Certain units were just unusable because the rules no longer existed in the game, and Games Workshop did nothing about it. There was one gentleman at the club, young man, now he's like a 40K expert. He was playing Dark Eldar, and the codex is older than him. I mean, it's just crazy, crazy, crazy. So for a long time, Games Workshop did not support the rules, did not update stuff, and it was kind of like, we are giving you this gift to play 40K and you take it as it is. Well, they corrected that pretty fast, and that correction, that course correction, was because of X-Wing miniatures and other games taking massive bites out of 40K. But I feel like now they've swung completely to the other side, where you just can't keep up. You can't keep up. And, you know, it's a good thing. Look, it's a duality. I want more miniatures. I want more models. I want more stuff. But I want that stuff supported. You know, Blood Angel players, you guys know what I'm talking about, right? I mean, how many times have Blood Angel players gotten burned where you build this, we won't even get into like the Lost and the Damned from back in the day, but you build up this army, you know, build and paint and customize and love it, and Games Workshop changes the rules. They drop the rules, and just, it's crazy. So I look at something like Blackstone Fortress, And when it was released, I was extremely skeptical. Extremely, because look, I've been here before. We're not calling it specialist games, but it's a specialist game. And Games Workshop, you would release these games, support them briefly, say you're going to support them forever, build a community, invest in a community, get people to buy in massively, and then just dump it, drop it, gone, you're on your own. And I resisted Blackstone Fortress for a long time for that very reason, telling myself, like, I'm not going out with her again. I got burned last time. I'm not doing it. It's just not happening. And then next thing you know, like, we're going out. So I jumped into Blackstone Fortress. And I'm glad I did, because the rules are excellent. It's a great way to explore 40K from an alternative narrative. And I've looked at that. But they said at the time, BFS is what? 2 years old? They're like, we're going to support this for a long time. It's going to be a cornerstone game. It's not going away. We're going to, give it community. And we got the first expansion pretty quick. We got the White Dwarf treatments. We got some little bonus cards here and there. And I felt like, wow, they're really going to support this. So this is something that I can get behind and really play. And then it's release after release after release. And it became apparent that while I'm happy they were giving out content quickly, you had to get it when it came out, because it was clear it was limited release, even though it wasn't marketed as limited release. And now here we are at the end, where Games Workshop is like, BFS is done. The story is done. Well, the story's done, but what you didn't say is you're not producing anymore. So it's not even like at the height, and I'm making these numbers up. At the height of BFS, we were moving 50K units, but now we're only moving 10K, so we'll print up 10K, and when it sells out, it'll take us 4 or 5 months to restock, like on a lower level once the hype train is over. But to just release this game, release this community, get you all to buy in, and now you're done, like, I just feel like it's a pump and dump. And that kind of gets me going. And this is coming from a point of view of, like, I have all the expansions, I have the cards, I have the annuals, I have the White Dwarfs. It's not a selfish thing of like, I'm done. It's a selfish thing of like, well, yes, I'd like some more, but I'd like you to support this game so other players can get into the game, so the community can get behind the game and have it to play. You've already got everything done. So it's interesting. What are they going to bring out next? There will be something next. And this is kind of their new business model, which I think has gone to the exact opposite side of fast, quick releases. FOMO, you get in, or that's it, you're left out, and we're only going to support it until the print run's done, and then on to the next. It just kind of, I don't know if you can have both. We'll leave it in the comments for you guys. How are you feeling in general about the GW practices? I mean, I love playing the game, but I love complaining about the game even more. This idea of, can we have the duality of lots of releases, lots of new stuff, but still actually support the older stuff?